Trick Lama.
Okay, guys, we are back again on Trick Lama. I don't know what episode is this, but it's our second episode for the year 2026. Of course, Trick Lama is brought to you by our channel Poda Boom, our podcast channel, and another product of Big Boom Media, which is the owner of the our flagship product, which is Scoop.my lah. And of course, with me are the usual suspects. On my left, Executive Director Dato' Ahiruddin Atan, also known fondly as Rocky Brew. Hi, Rocky.
Hello, Terence. Hello.
And of course, on my right, the guy who keeps oiling the machinery, our CEO, Dato' Zainul Arifin.
Yes,
Zainul.
Terence. Yes, Happy New Year.
Happy. Boleh lah, it's still the
Okay.
second week of January.
Okay.
Okay, Zainul, Rocky. Our guest today, his evolution in the last 6 years will make Charles Darwin want to go back and revisit his own theory of evolution. Okay, so from banker to COVID recovery minister to a crisis era finance minister, and then later on he became Minister of International Trade and Investment, Trade and Industry. And then also, we in the media, when we are not TV, we also refer to him as a tariff minister. So, okay. And
evolution, kalau Darwinian, it goes to a higher life form. It doesn't go state, it just remains.
Okay.
It goes to higher life
thank
form.
you for that, coitus interruptus.
Yeah.
Now, he is also the president of the Badminton Association of Malaysia. Of course, looking at our performance yesterday, he may not want to brag about it, but currently he is the chairman of the Malaysian Investment Development Authority. Of course, I'm talking about tak lain, tak bukan. Tak bukan, our guest today is Yang Mulia Datuk Seri Tengku Zafrul Aziz. Tengku Zaf, thank you so much for joining us today on Trick Lama. It's a real pleasure to have you here. I know when we talked about having this interview with you, you were still a minister at MITI.
Yes.
Okay, but you made it anyway.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry of being a bit naughty with the introduction, but since in the last 6 years, you have actually, I mean, even you, I think, couldn't keep pace with all the changes in your life in the last 6 years. How has that affected you, or helped you grow and change your perspectives, and maybe your ambitions also maybe it may have changed the last 6 years?
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, if you ask, means someone like Rocky, who've known me, I think since Tune Money days, and that was you missed the entrepreneur part. I also tried to be
Right.
entrepreneur. He was quite critical of me, lah.
Okay.
I don't know. But anyway, I think it was critical
Yeah,
of Tony. But
It was critical of Tony.
I'm collateral.
Yes.
Collateral damage.
Okay.
I remember those days. After that, when really, if you ask me then, and I'm sure if you ask Rocky then, or Zainul those days also, you would never thought, and I would never thought I would be involved in politics, or even going to be part of a government machinery, or even government itself, or jadi minister pun, right? I mean, I never dreamt, I never expect, I never targeted pun, to be very honest. So you're right. So but it taught me how to be ready for the things that you don't expect.
Any eventuality.
You got to be agile, but you got to be ready. But one thing I must say that I like is that it keeps me going. The uncertainty sometimes keeps you alive. If you know what I mean.
Get exciting.
Get exciting.
But are you an accidental politician or someone who suddenly decided to become a politician?
Well, kalau boleh nak be very honest, I've always been interested to know what's happening in politics. But to be involved, I have always been very wary of my. Well, one is I don't think I was cut for it lah, because I was too involved in corporate. I was too late pun at that time. So I wasn't in a way memang accidentally involved in politics. Actively, yes, but involved in politics as a macam you all lah, observer. Very so although I become a politician, it was not become from the ground zero, not knowing who is who, how things work from the outside perspective lah. Of course dalam bila dah masuk dalam tu very different lah.
Yeah lah.
Right.
Saya suka nak komen sikit pasal Tengku Zaf punya sebutan that I was critical of him. I was mengaku I was critical of people, young people masa tu.
Yeah,
It's my blogging days.
Yes.
Yang I saw memang ada bright future. People like Zaf, people like KJ, and I was very critical of them. And when it comes to evolution, memang I did not expect, like Zaf pun tak expect he was going to be not going to be in politics, but going to excel in politics.
Yeah.
Because although accidental, you bukan seorang politician biasa saja. You excel in it. Maybe because the portfolio that landed on you
True.
force you to either perform ataupun tidak. And I mean by that masa MITI days lah. I think MITI was very, very defining lah. It defined you because there were a lot of criticisms. This time didn't come from me lah. This time came from
Terence.
people like people like Dr. Mo, for example. And I was watching his.
I saw that one.
That one was very critical of you. What do you think of the criticisms at that level?
I think in politics, I learned one thing lah, and also in government, which I think is important to be open about criticism, because some criticism betul, to be fair lah, and then we try to improve, but some tak betul, you try and explain. For in instance of Dr. Mo, for example, I think some of his criticism other valid points, which I think we should take into account and see. But some I might not agree, but at the end of the day, we must respect because they might look at it from a different angle. So as long as you open it, you cannot get too personal about it, because or else
professional.
you got to be. To me, you must learn that. Kalau tak boleh, then you susah lah. I think excel in.
So when did you develop the stick skin?
Yeah, it's thick skin actually. Betul.
Recently Recently ke masa when you were a
I think
banker?
masa MOF lah.
MOF ah?
Masa MOF. I think masa MOF because masa MOF tu was a tough time. For the
COVID.
whole world lah, Malaysia juga. Masa COVID tu. Apa you buat pun is you have to balance life and livelihood. It's not easy. And the trade-off was something yang memang kena banyak critical views on and positive and negative. But you know lah at that time because everybody was really not out. They were just busy looking at what you're doing. All eyes on the government of the day at that time.
Yeah, betul.
I think that's why the corporate gumption comes in, because you just need to get it done. You got no time for all the political bullshit. You got no time to have your feelings hurt because you got KPIs to fulfill. You need to get the country back on track, and that was where you were focused on. If you got a politician to run the national recovery plan, we're probably having a very different conversation with a very different person.
Because the KPI, because you see, but that also in a way works against him as a politician. Because you are a technocrat trying to deliver things. Politician, you work on a different panel, different time frame, different reference point. Politician is like you want to appease the grassroots. You can,
So that's the thing.
Yeah.
As we're talking to Tengku Zafrul now, are you a politician? You're not a politician. Are you a politician wannabe?
You a badminton player?
I want to
Marathon man?
I must say that today I'm a politician definitely. Of course, the background that I have in my career will have some biasness towards technocrat style lah, right? Can be good, can be bad, but I think it also means that I've seen both worlds lah. I can try and see what are the strengths of my previous life that can be used into this current role as a politician.
Even when you were in UMNO, I think Bendahari UMNO at one time, if I'm mistaken.
I was also Supreme Council.
But somehow, maybe it's just me, but my first imagination of you or my reference to you is corporate man, not politician, because I don't think you indulge a lot in political rhetoric when you're back in UMNO, and even now, it was always about focus on the work, focus on your ministry. I don't get a lot of political sound bites from you. I mean, am I right to say that, or do you guys have a different view?
Reference points, I suppose, is Arwah Tun, Daim,
Yeah,
That apa,
very
that kind
man of little words.
Yeah, and kind of the background is I don't know what you think about this that kind of similarity, but I do think that if you go back to you look at Tengku Zaf, you think of someone who is in politics, thrown there, but not really a politician. You may feel that you are a politician, but
Yeah.
I think it'll be some ways yet still. Kalau you tak kutuk, kalau you tak touch 3R ni, kalau you tak bank Akmal ke Dr. Akmal, you tak whack komeng ke apa, maybe you're not a
You're
politician.
not a politician
in Malaysia,
lah.
you know.
Yeah, that's true. Because that political.
Because we grew up with that kind of
Yeah.
politics.
I think you didn't indulge in that political grandstanding, you know, you didn't wave a crease or something.
You haven't, you never
Belum.
did.
No,
Yeah.
I think it's a
But
good
never-
point.
Yeah, maybe.
But that's the thing, because that's why I say,
Good
because
point,
you're not accidental politician, so that means you are not groomed. You didn't build a grounding though, from standing on a soapbox and shouting at people.
Yes.
Kan? So that's you start terus as a technocrat, you know, having the party flag behind,
Yeah.
but you didn't really go through the ni lah.
Yeah, understand.
So that one, I don't know whether it's advantageous as a politician. I think it's advantageous as a politician lah, because then you know. So I suppose maybe that's what you have to do now, because you got a lot of time now. You can go around buka puasa, pasar Ramadan.
I mean, to borrow a line from one of,
Tarawih ke
yeah,
mana.
to borrow a line from one of my favorite songs. Screw this, I just want to ride my bicycle.
Yeah.
The Queen. No.
Yeah,
Yes,
Queen. Yeah. But it's true, because you have to be able, because he's always a efficient technocrat, banker, apa semua. But you're not on the ground as a politician. Politician are going to spend, you know, I know one guy who cycle every day on a motorbike. One day, this shall remain nameless, is somewhere in the cabinet somewhere. So he ride a motorbike, pergi dekat rumah peneroka lah. So masa tu NST ambil gambar dia, taruh dalam paper, gambar kan this guy on a motorbike pergi melawat settlers lah. The next day he did it again and call us, can you take another picture? No lah, sekali cukup lah. But that's the instinct of politician.
Yeah.
You won't have that. You do not have that yet.
No.
But you have to probably develop that.
So let's talk about your current position at MIDA. Many of us, you know, you like to speculate lah. That's what we do as as journalists, right? You know, sometimes you just shoot in the dark and hopefully you hit something. So many thought that you were going to be given a ministerial position, so that you can continue to have conversations and meetings with your former cabinet colleagues. So the chairmanship of MIDA actually took many of us by surprise. You know, some of the speculation was that you would probably be given an EPU, ministerial status, and then you go back to cabinet. So chairman of MIDA was something, chairman of Khazanah maybe, but chairman of MIDA?
Because now he's the Prime Minister.
Yeah.
I just want to get into trouble.
Well, you know,
They didn't discuss that.
I think he's a very benevolent prime minister. He said, I want less work. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, how? I mean, can you run through that thought process about
Yeah.
how you ended up being in MIDA? Were you expecting something else?
Yeah. Well. Of course, the problem with me is that, you know, I will accept anything lah. So I'm happy with the position of chairman of MIDA. I did tell Prime Minister, Yang Maha Perdana Menteri Dr. Anwar Ibrahim, that before finish my senatorship and of course as minister, that I still want to contribute. That one I was quite clear lah. I want to contribute in any capacity. I didn't say advisor to
Right.
Prime Minister, minister status. I didn't ask for all that, but you know, it's up to, it's the prerogative of the Prime Minister. So when I finish, then he announced the MIDA chairmanship lah. So to date, that's what he has given to me. So I will try and fulfill that role. So to me, the expectation was a role that can make me continue to contribute to the government in any form. I don't know whether PM will give me any more role. I don't know. So that one you have to ask PM lah.
No, but how does it change the whole dynamics of that working relationship? Because before this, you reported direct to PMX. Now you're reporting to Jogani.
Yes, yes.
So, how does that?
Well,
How does it?
as long as you contribute, I mean, to me, part of nation building is do what you can to support
Sure.
the growth of the economy. In this case, in MIDA. But of course, for me personally, like you said, tadi at the beginning, then it gives me more time to do what I've develop a bit more. And I completely agree with this. Is one of the main criticism of me, which is I should spend more time on the ground. This will then allow me to spend more time on the ground. And then, of course, you did mention about badminton just now. Actually, badminton not so bad lah. The world number 2 did live to their ranking. But they are in India now for the Indian. But they are also to look at my own. I have to, something that maybe 3 of you can help is because people always ask what I think, but the best is to also ask what people think of me, because people will always want to know as a politician before I can comment on politics. Macam you kata that. I think you are completely correct. I never touch about politics in lectures, in conferences, work. One of the reasons is because I want to be sure that what kind of politician I want to be. I mean, my views and my principle clear lah. What kind of politician? This is where maybe you all get, because times have to change. What kind of politician people want?
Yes.
Do they want that kind of then maybe I have to develop that better, because I don't have that skill set pun.
But maybe you don't have to, because at the end of the day, you be fake kalau you make it. But the other thing, maybe I'm quite interested. You were in UMNO, then you left UMNO. Is it because the party, your ideology remains the same? Your political ideology, has it been consistent?
Yes, in a way, consistent. In a way that I still feel that the importance of the Malays, right, the Bumiputra, the focus on that, because UMNO pun is part of a Barisan Nasional, the coalition. Maybe in Selangor might have been a problem. UMNO Selangor played a major role in that decision lah. And of course, PKR is a multiracial party. Right, like it or not, those of you who know me, my DNA is, I believe in politics that's based on supporting Malaysia as a country together. In that way. I mean, we all are nationalistic about our country, regardless of our race. I think before the call tadi point we talk about identity politics. But to me, we should talk about what is good for the people, what is good for the country when we want to win votes. Nowadays, it can be quite toxic, and I don't quite like that lah. I mean, that's I don't know whether we'll win votes or not, but as a principle,
But maybe there is. I mean, some people, it drives people to the point lah. But whether it delivers. At the end of the day, when people act on it, it's a different thing lah. Last time, there was one, cannot name names because he's a cabinet member also. So, it used to be, but dia punya ceramah, people go because entertainment value. Okay,
I know who you say.
so, entertainment value, there you go, you wait for it. It's like the second last speaker before the main speaker. So, you will go around entertaining. So, but do people act based on entertainment, or people just go there for entertainment value? I mean, people act based on what, So that's the thing. So maybe you don't really have to do it, but maybe you expect people punya intelligence or ability to comprehend and get interested in strong arguments. There are people who like that lah. But then depending on which area you nak tanding lah.
I mean, the fact that he has moved from UMNO to PKR kind of answers that question about where he gravitates towards.
Yeah, but see, if you go to my area, you're okay already, selamat.
Your area
Segambut.
Segambut.
Segambut, you're okay already, don't worry.
I know you.
So tell her to move somewhere else lah. She's now the typo, okay.
But how did you do in the last elections in terms of you lost, but not by much, right?
Lost by 1,000 votes.
1,000 votes.
To the current minister, current health minister, and the incumbent,
Dr. Zul. Yeah. So that's the thing. So the talk now is that we need to find a safe seat for Zafrul.
Is it? Oh, I hope the talk is right.
Do you appreciate that or say, why save seat? You know, you got no faith in me. Yeah. I can win anywhere.
Well, first of all, kalau dapat seat is good enough lah for me. I mean, safe seat.
Yeah.
No one in their right mind will reject a safe seat. But to me, to contribute, you need to be in parliament. So,
Right.
kalau if I hope in this case, since I'm from PKR, I hope the president will give me an opportunity to contest lah.
I mean, the fact that the president, we're talking about PMX, of course,
Yes.
risked unity of the unity government to lure you away from UMNO and put you in PKR, says a lot about the bigger plan that he has. And how have you been kind of navigating this situation with your former colleagues at UMNO, with DPM1, your former president, and now with your new colleagues in PKR, because obviously you're a young Malay leader in PKR who actually, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, if your perception is different from mine, please feel free to jump in, guys. That you're talking about second tier leadership, you got to really stop and think hard, as opposed to UMNO, where it's quite easy to pinpoint who can take over. PKR, you don't have that, So which brings you kind of closer to the top lah, kan? Yeah, which is not necessarily a good thing also internally. So how are you navigating this current situation with yourself?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I don't think it's correct to say that I was lured by Prime Minister. It was me who and so who wanted to join PKR.
That's a very good political answer.
So it was a push factor.
So it wasn't. I don't. I'm not saying this because I don't want the two PM or DPM today. But and secondly, I have to correct you. I don't. It shows that how not that important lah. That okay lah. We of course, like I said, I was Ketua Bahagian and MKT, but I think if you do it properly, I engage President UMNO, Dato' Sri Zahid, and then and we are all still in good, we have good relationship, and of course in UMNO, I mean my brother is Ketua Bahagian still in Lebah Pantai. I've got still family members and friends in UMNO. I mean, even when I was in PKR, I have as a minister, you have a supol. My supol is from UMNO. Right? So we, because in politics, there's no permanent enemies, as you know. I mean, you all are long enough covering. You never, I think, you start covering, journalists, you never thought of a coalition government at that time in our mind. No one could have predicted more so with
in
UMNO
my lifetime, I never expected Tun Mahathir, Lim Kit Siang, and Hadi Awang on the same stage.
Yeah, and one time even Anwar.
Yes.
In 2018, even Anwar.
So
We call it a motley crew of strange bedfellows.
And then now with UMNO.
Yes.
So it's not never known, because now I think because the way it's heading, I don't think it's wrong to say that coalition government is here to stay for a while.
I think
So and that coalition can be anyone.
yes. I think it's how to.
I don't think one party can have majority. I don't think so lah. Tapi again, politics, anything can happen. You got the right candidate, you got the right story. Kau perempuan banyak, I tengok banyak emotional votes also kan, with the 18-year-olds coming in, the youth. People are more, because they've seen changes. People who are born, I mean, the last since 2000 and bila last kali we've seen even Selangor, the change was in 2008. Then after that, later on, after that, more states fell. So those, kalau you are 21, that means you are born, let's say you're 21 in 2027.
You're born in
2006.
2006.
They have not seen all this.
No,
we both all seen. So they tak ada biasness that,
2006, yes.
I'm sticky to this. I'm sticky to this group. I'm sticky to that group.
So that's how PH misread the Undi 18 in 2022.
Yeah, maybe.
Because most of them went for PN.
Malaysia.
And they repeated that same mistake in Sabah, because the 500,000 new voters mostly voted for the other side. You see, so what exactly, or are our youth or first time voters looking for, which you would think would be basic cost of living, employment, being able to buy their first home, you can get a job, get loans, I can afford my first car, basic things like that, which we think we got it. I mean, the incumbent government has got it spot on, but what do the youth want? For the record, Tengku Zafrul is the youngest person at this table.
Yeah.
Yes, by far.
I don't know.
Yeah, by far. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
No lah.
But Tengku Zafrul, you are also actively involved in your with the young people through your foundation. Okay, so, and I see that with badminton, there's another touchstone for you with the young generation as well. So, and I'm looking at you as a young politician. You're going to be able to keep this generation, the younger generation, with you. Your understanding. He's the only one on this table also who runs a marathon. Okay?
So,
No, I don't. Half marathon kacau.
marathon.
Half marathon also I'm And so this remember when you wanted to go for
But you did broke ah. Okay lah no.
broke
This is cycling.
but yeah, but our future, the generation the young who are voting now, they make up vast majority.
Yeah.
And how do you, as a politician now, who have now gone to another chapter of your career, that means I'm assuming that you'll be contesting in the next general election. I suppose I have a feeling that the PMX will rely quite a bit on you to woo these young voters. So what would your plan be? Because some of the things you're doing naturally will bring you close to the. But what about economy? The economy of the young people. The ability to buy houses, to buy cars. These are all issues that you more than anybody else would know, because given your corporate background.
Yeah. So one thing I learned when I joined the government from corporate sector, especially as a banker, jadi MOF and then BT, think dulu kita sebagai banker, we are very much capitalist lah. You can say that, right? You look at from a different lens. In fact, you are in a bubble lah, sebenarnya. Right? And that's why I can understand why people think that people like us, as masa dulu lah, the corporate people are out of touch with what happening on the ground. So the reason why I'm saying this, because the economy today, macam the young people, we're not talking about young now. When you talk about GDP, when you talk about inflation, when you talk about unemployment, when you talk about interest rate dan sebagainya, they don't quite understand what is that got to do with me and how it impact me, right? So I think our narrative when it comes to economy rakyat, or I call it people economy, has to change, because that trust gap will only widen if we continue to talk about, oh, don't worry, our economy is growing at 5.1% or 5.2%. The young macam bila I jumpa dia, they're like, why are you telling me all this? So what? I look at what's in my wallet. Right? Somehow, like your cost of living is going up. So dia kata, I pergi dulu my grocery bill. Ni young couples telling me, dulu bayar $100, now $120. Why is that so? Fine, economy is going up. Because salary maybe not going up as fast, and as you know, and inflation pun, food inflation is different from the basket that we it depends what you buy, so it's very biased towards a very different basket. So to me, for the young people, you have to be real lah. You got to, people want, I mean, it's all a bit, I think to make a government dengan young is the trust. Do you trust the government is doing enough for you? So kita kena move away from all these general big data figures, but you need to ask them how it affects them. So the the thinking has to change. And so government narrative dengan yang ni kena tukar sikit.
Yeah, I think that's true. Because
We are talking to like macam financial analyst.
Financial analyst you don't have to explain pun. Dia tengok numbers boleh tahu.
Dia explain tahu. Yeah.
But I think that's true because you know, when you were in MITI, you always come back with investment berapa billion kan, and all these things. But people cannot relate to those numbers, those announcements.
Betul.
You have analysts very happy about the reduction in deficit, you know, all these things reform done by the government. But young people said, not young people, people in general have not say suspicion, but they have this thing about all these numbers coming up from government figures, including you when you were in MITI.
Yeah.
So, but how do you bridge that gap to tell people that this is real? You know, it will, you know, Google coming in maybe 3-4 years will generate into something real, but how do you explain it to them?
So that's why masa MITI I completely agree. People even question masa I was in MITI whether yang approved investment how much is it realised? And betul realised pun betul, kena tunjuk gambar. So I have to show photos, videos to explain. And to me, we have to show even the jobs and whether what kind of job, what kind of salary this job created. So that's why now as MIDA pun I've been pushing for making sure that spillover tu kita tunjuk. Dia tunjuk, if we just show the number, people cannot relate. You have to show how many jobs created. Where is this job created? What kind of salary that this job is creating? How many Malaysians is the job? Right? So all this are important. And secondly, berapa banyak SME who are in part of when this company comes in, how many SME will be part of that supply chain? So you have to show all this, and then let them talk. So we need to show this. But again, for the youth, you know, you need to do even more. You need to show. I mean, people of course happy dengan all the SARA dan sebagainya. But right now the youth, when you talk to them, I don't know whether you agree with me, is that to them it's your job. I mean, it's not about entitlement, but to them is, you know,
You have to do it, your job.
You do it. So I give you SARA, I don't vote for you. Doesn't mean I vote for you.
Yeah.
You know, and that applies for any incumbent lah, to be fair. Right? So you have to do even more than that. So what is that more? I think that more is about trust that you know. Sometimes it's not about them wanting something from you. This from my discussion with many youth groups is for you to understand what they're going through.
Yes.
Yeah. Dia tahu dia kadang tak ada solution, tapi dia sekarang ni dia punya fikiran, some of them, you faham ke my problem?
Yes. Very important.
I tahu you mungkin tak ada solution, but you faham tak my problem?
Empathy.
Empathy. Kalau faham problem, you dah win half of them. Right? Then you find the solution lah with them together. Right now they feel like macam kita disconnect. We are disconnected from their.
Yeah, because I think again kita punya political leaders pun banyak dah tua than Rocky and me, you know. They're older than us.
And even the younger ones are playing the older politics.
Because they think it works still.
Yeah.
So just give an example. This is my real life example. My daughter abroad. So when the last election, they went through the manifestos of all the political parties over there. And then you know what? They look at the siapa yang tak ada talk about climate change, reject.
Wow.
So this is a certain group of young people.
They don't have special interest.
Special interest, but their interest is different. No, they're not talking about, you know, there's certain things, you know, and if you say certain things, you dismiss these people. That's it.
Precisely what Zaf, you were saying. Do you understand our problem? Do you understand our needs? You know, what we want and all that. That's important.
And we are a young country. I think we are all 20% is above 60 or 70. And 20%, the line too is more, I think, very young. So I think the politics and the politicians are not connected to the young as much as they should.
Yeah.
And that's what I think anyway.
And I don't think the young ones understand what MIDA is supposed to do. No. Typically, what does the chairman of MIDA
if you need
to do? You know, and
a millennial elevator pitch to a bunch of millennials. What will you tell them? What does MIDA do for you?
What does MIDA do?
Betul lah. I mean, kalau to be very frank and honest, if MIDA is not the right platform lah for political, definitely not, because we the touch point very much industry and corporate, so the young will not be a very
But
efficient
katalah
way of
you
touching
still,
them.
you still have to
Oh, katakanlah
you
termasuk.
still have to tell them that
still
you are
have-
relevant to them. MIDA is relevant to the young one.
Well, I have to show how many, I mean, to the young one, kalau kat MIDA, I have to show why this new technology that we are bringing in or the new industry bringing in will help their industry lah, macam
Correct,
katakan
How will affect them?
how will affect them. If you bring this will be good for you. If your startups will then have kan banyak yang people suka buat startup sekarang, then they will be able to join the ecosystem. But they have to explain that way lah, rather than say,
Yep.
oh, I brought this
Yep.
X amount.
Yeah, because that time dalam newsroom kita ada this call with so what thing. You tell me, so what?
Yes.
So what? How does
How does it affect
that,
me, you know?
how does that benefit me?
Yeah, because it has to be people are very individualistic, trying to figure out. You say you bring in 2 billion worth of investment. So what?
So what? Yeah.
So what?
So, and kita semua foreign investment bukan.
Yeah, foreign
Yeah, so it's not a very suitable platform for aspiring young politicians.
Yeah. But okay, the other thing that of course we want to ask before, this is the, if you can, because you're no longer the minister. But there is always this, people still going after the Malaysia trade agreement.
The
art. So saying that we are selling our sovereignty, we are surrendering everything semua. So I mean there are always arguments to both sides lah, but
Sure.
I don't think the government articulated the argument very well. The other party articulate the argument very well. You jual negara je, that's it. They don't have to explain. They have to explain because it's very easy because these guys don't know what they are doing. They are selling off to Trump and things like that lah. So, but I think there has to be, the government has not been able to articulate why. You know, I think that's something lah. I don't know whether you can answer still because.
Yeah, I think to be fair to the government and the people that are involved in it, I mean the civil servants also involved and the various other ministries, they have done a good job. Maybe the explanation tu kita kena push harder, which we have. Tapi because it's politicized, not so easy to defend. Because the problem is, and I've mentioned this in some of the more interviews, some of the media interviews internationally juga, is that it's not, kau dia tak boleh samakan dengan FTA lain. It's not the same as FTA because it's not the FTA in the first place. We are in a position where we are pushed to the wall and we have to look at how do we mitigate this. Right? It's basically it's not like where macam CPTPP, macam RCEP, macam all the other agreement where we sit down together voluntarily wanting this. We Posh and just like any other country in the world today, and they are now Indonesia all finalizing also and for Malaysia is even worse because like it or not, US is our biggest export market. Sorry, even bigger than China, and also they are the biggest investor into the country. So we're not ready to stand macam what China did to US. Right? So we just have to do what's the best given the current circumstances. I mean, of course, what's best is always not good enough lah. Because so we in that position we are susah sikit.
But actually, how many jobs will be affected by?
Oh, we know even just the semicon job je dekat 500,000. Right? So,
500,000.
that's
So that means if there's any changes in the trade punya tariff ke apa semua, it could
that's why I said
potentially affect.
who's going to defend now you can say lah, but the result we'll only know later, right? Katakan we said no, sorry, then you kena lah how many percent then when the companies move out or when our own companies cannot supply to US, the jobs will be affected. Then by the time it's too late, then they'll say why do you don't negotiate?
Do you think that your critics now on this thing, that if they were in government, they would do the same thing?
I think if they listen to the advice of the government servants who are subject matter experts, they will do the same thing. Because I stand guided by all the experts around us.
Because I think the other thing is because it was sold, that agreement is sold as part of PMX punya.
Yeah, they were taking. That's right. Because they were weaponizing that politic lah. Because the other time is because, like it or not, US is an easy target lah. Because the people punya emotion against the US dengan isu Palestina, dengan the way Trump behave. So It's an easy target also.
Yeah.
Right. We sign dengan China, okay pula. The China, ASEAN China FTA dengan ASEAN, it's also, opening up more market, tapi tak ada bising.
From the time we signed that trade agreement when Trump was here, and today, with his ambitions and perceived ambitions of global domination,
Imperialistic
ambition, have the rules of engagement changed for Malaysia in the last couple of months, seeing what has happened today and from the time that we signed it?
We've seen a few more investment coming in. They are be finalized. Texas Instrument, there's also Microsoft. Where they waited for our art, so then they give confidence that the relationship between the two governments and certainty on certain things. That's one. Number two, of course, export market. Because like semiconductors still zero for us.
Zero tariff.
So our export numbers still strong and to the US. In fact, other markets now are moving to Malaysia. Because they want to use us as a export base, but we also upgraded our partnership in the US, which was not highlighted as much, to a comprehensive economic partnership, right? So where again it gives confidence to the company ni kadang-kadang dia nak tengok G2G tu, how strong it is, and now it's in writing, right? So this give confidence to many investment, and we can see the results. So I'm compiling that. Because kita baru, but it's not effective yet. We have not ratified yet, right? That's why people are trying to push us to not to. But we will, we have to honor what we have agreed. But market has already accepted that we will honor it, so they have started already.
Externally, okay, so we are engaging them, but internally, are you or is the government, are the ministers fighting internal fires with the civil service, the the special interest groups? So the speed in which one thing's done is not up to your satisfaction.
For in general,
like yourself, for instance, as a former MITI minister. Because one thing I did mention to a lot of people that when I deal as a journalist, I deal with many ministries.
Yes.
But somehow dealing with MITI is a joy. It's so easy to get things done very fast. Surya sitting right there, one phone call and things get done. I just wish that same thing can be replicated with other ministries that are run by politicians. And I put that in parentheses. So in terms of getting things moving, and this is a frustration that I know that some of your other former cabinet colleagues are also facing, that the civil service that they depend on, the officers they depend on, are not moving in tandem or as quickly as they would like, because PMX has got a very short window to deliver before the next election cycle.
Yeah. So PM has mentioned to the cabinet and that, and also to me and to all the other relevant stakeholders, that this year, the year 2026, should be a year where you just focus on execution. Tak payahlah more plans and more plans. Time to execute. This is what I think your point is, because people want to see results. You have plans. You're seen as taking action, but what is the outcome of your action? Of course, there's plan 1 or 2 more will come, but more focus on execution. Because at the end of the day, people will not measure us on what plans we announce.
Yeah.
They're going to measure the outcome. And you are right. I think there are frustrations. Now I can say lah, I can ask you. Some ministries more than others, some agencies more than others, but focus of PM and of course KSN has been entrusted to do this is to ensure that kita deliver better. Because rakyat wants to see reform yang besar-besar ni, maybe all this AG, SG, but those could be your bangsa crowd, on the ground. Not the these bangsa bubble people. They might want all this, tapi on the ground they just want to see, look, I nak renew my mate punya apa,
something as basic as that.
Permit pun tunggu 1 hari, pagi sampai petang. Why can't you do it as so all these things that yang issue ni yang I think we need to resolve. From everyday people issue more than to me lah.
Which I think it's true, because
and that I think requires a lot of
You need a
support
ballsy.
from the civil
No,
servant
you
lah.
need a
Civil
ballsy
servant.
KSN. If
Yeah,
you,
KSN
if you
have to.
remember Tan Sri Siddiq Hassan.
Oh yes,
Under
yes,
Pak Lah.
Yeah.
Every week he was sending someone to the pool, demoting TKSUs and DGs, just like that, because he said he set up Permudah.
Yeah, he said about
He was the co-chair
Because
with Tan
the-
Yong Pokon, who represented the private sector.
the secretariat was MITI.
Because I remember somebody complained to Pak La at one of his overseas trips that they have to go through 27 agencies to set up a factory in Malaysia. So then, and that was the motivation for Pak La to get Pemuda off the ground. And,
So that was the history, eh?
that was the issue, yeah. And Tan Sri Siddiq was one KSN who couldn't care two hoots lah. I want this done tomorrow. You can't get it done, then I'll get someone else to do it.
You probably putting at least 1 million votes.
Even in his case, in Tengku Zafrul's
1.2.
case, you never know. I mean, I'm just going through the psyche of something. He's second-term senator lah. He's going to
but
expire
you see-
soon already. Just wait him out lah. No need to implement lah. Surya, correct or not?
but
Surya's nodding ahead.
but this going back to your politics, I mean, you have to be. I think you are planning to contest in the next election. You probably be looking at some space or places. Or the most important thing now for you. What is the most important What is the most important thing for you now as you prepare yourself to be going to contest? And let's say, I'm not saying it will happen. Let's say if it did not work out the next time, what are your plans?
Yeah. Yeah, you see, it doesn't work out means I lose or I don't get a chance to
Okay,
contest.
you get a chance to contest,
Tapi kalah.
tapi didn't make it.
Okay.
If that happens, he's still 54 years old only.
Lambat sikit the question.
I'm talking 2 years from now.
So I'm just curious because he's still
People 100 years old can still be contesting.
Honestly, I thought about it
Yeah.
and I discussed dengan my team and more importantly dengan my family juga. I've got to be realistic, right? Because in my life I have to try. I've always tried to do new things and challenging things at the same time. In some people's view, they will never do it. So for me, I can tell you now that if I fail this time round, kalau dapat contest lah, kalau dapat contest fail, then I think it's a message that I'm not cut out for it lah, right? I mean, I'm not like some people who dah kalah 2 kali, kalah 3 kali dah masih lagi nak. I'm not. I mean, if you lose twice in a row, I mean, it's time to But because if you have many other ways to help, be involved
I think that's
to as
important.
part of nation building. You don't have to be a parliament. At the high, I mean, parliament to be at the highest level of government. Kan? Kalau dapat, tu pun kalau dapat jadi cabinet member. But if tak dapat, then you continue doing your work, but help in other ways.
No lah, but if it could be also you being set up for failure. If they ask you to go contest in Kuala Krai, my constituency, guarantee you kalah.
Oh, Bukit Bintang.
Okay, betul PH ni.
PH lah.
You know?
Okay.
But that's easy lah. You're being very transparent in that sense lah.
Yeah, but I think
So we know apa.
because we got to move on lah. Kan?
Yeah.
I think you got to move on and say, look, it's time that
How do you look at this comparative studies that people do? They put you, Tengku Zafrul, KJ,
And Rafizi.
Rafizi,
Rafizi no need lah.
I mean for comparison.
But 2 PKR. the
For
other one-
shits and giggles, we have put Rafizi in the mix.
There's 2 PKR and one don't know where yet. Where's KJ? Maybe he will.
Yeah, I mean, these two are to me very seasoned politician. They are. I mean, kalau ditanya tadi, mula-mula tadi, am I a politician? I mean, compared to them, I'm like well, it's like they are like Liverpool, Arsenal, no. I'm down there lah, Manchester United, kan. So they are to me they are different level. I don't compare myself to them. I think they're more seasoned. They know what they're more experienced, and one day I hope I can be as street smart as them in politics.
He's really politician talking.
I think.
No, betul.
Yeah.
I can't even talk as well as them.
Yeah.
Suruh I pergi pidato kat luar tu, I think there's no way I can
Maybe
even.
you just need to do as better than you don't need to talk, kan? You just need to do.
Yeah.
You know, given that you have
That's why I
been,
tak ada my own.
kan, you have been in the finance committee, you know,
And the coordinating minister for
you're Supreme Council. You have been playing at the top without having to
go through the grind.
go through the ground. But some people say without even having to win elections. You know, there's a kind of divinity there, macam ada something watching over you. You know, of course, what Zainul is saying that if that luck runs out and you have answered us, and I think that's about as clear and as honest an answer you can ever expect from a Malaysian politician.
Yeah.
You know, and I think the three of us would appreciate that because now it's easy to pantau your progress. So the minute you lose and you still want to stay,
You can whack me.
then you can whack you. But otherwise,
Because you don't record.
otherwise we are obliged to support you because this is the kind of politics
Yes.
that we should have.
But do you think it's a fair assessment when people talk about Zafrul? Say, he got it easy lah. He always got some mandram there, wasn't someone protecting him. Mandram means magic.
Well, got it easier than others.
Bomo.
Perhaps. But to me, it's not about how you get it, but whether you deliver when you get it.
Right.
So
What
if
you
you've
do
been
with it.
entrusted to do it, you know, I mean, I've worked for 3 prime ministers, right? And I've worked with many companies. It's about, you know, how you get there. People. I mean, how I became CEO CIMB because CEO Maybank, Maybank Investment Bank. Some people will question, you know, maybe he knows Wahid. Maybe because he knows Nazir. Because, you know, Tanzim Widin brought him in, and then, you know, and then that's why all this. But what's important is you must deliver when you're in that position. Then people, the noise, hopefully. Quiets down. I mean,
But to be fair, you have to know someone to be able to be appointed.
but in KL, in Malaysia, you need to know someone to be, you know, because or not to get things done.
He's got the pedigree. I mean, you can't fault him for, you know, he's the pedigree. I mean, there's a born into it. So, you know, but that's what is always been used against you by your detractors. And having said that, okay, this question needs to be asked by the non-Malay. So they ask the Indian to ask lah. This is the payung kuning perception.
Okay.
So
Why Malay cannot ask?
Yeah, I was about
because
Ini Raja-Raja Melayu.
you can get your I'm not Datuk. You can get your Datuk-ship revoked. I don't want that to happen to you. So rightly or wrongly,
my Sultan very sensible. Sultan
Perak. You dari mana?
Federal.
Of Federal. Who was Agong at that time?
Sekarang punya Agong.
Okay. So rightly or wrongly, you know, one of the things that, you know, we talk about in a coffee shop better, you know, around the media table is that Zafrul is dependent upon to keep the royals happy. You know, anytime there's a crisis, you know, if PMX wants to get something done, he sends Zafrul, the GRO of the Payung Kuning. So, you know, so I'm being
What's the GRO?
I'm very pandai. Look to your right. He's our GRO. So I mean, it is actually, maybe you have not heard it, maybe you are surprised by it, but it is actually an elephant in the room, you know, when you talk about Tengku Zafrul and his relationship with the royals, specifically maybe Selangor, Pahang and Johor. You know, maybe you wanna Johor, maybe because it's now Agong lah. Maybe you want to just address any misconception or you know, even confirm it.
Well, I cannot deny the fact that you know, I have relationship with many of them, right? Some are closer than others in terms of relationship, but I do know them, and they do know me, partly because of my work as minister, but also in my corporate life, lah, right? And some because of, you know, blood relation, lah. Right. So, but the thing is, you know, to say that, for example, when there's a problem, PM will send me. So far, dia tak pernah send lah. So I don't think it's easy, but there is that perception lah, right? But to say that they don't support me at all, also not true lah. Because I think they have supported in my work, especially, but in politics, they all don't interfere lah, in politics. My decision to join PKR or my decision to join or be more active in politics. In fact, I can say one of them actually advised against me being too involved in politics.
Politics, yeah.
In politics. So tak ada lah. I mean, to be fair, tak ada. But that is the perception out there because that relationship that I have, which I started obviously, I cannot deny that fact lah. But if you look at that relationship, sebenarnya that relationship started actually even before I joined the government.
But in reverse, and you don't need to answer if you're uncomfortable. In reverse, do you get the approach or the calls from the palaces, to convey a message to the Prime Minister?
I mean, unless it's about work, where all ministers will then have to, depending on the state issue, because many issues that concerning the state, if it's the interest of the state, the ruler will of course want to make sure that the interest of the state is protected together with the chief minister or menteri besar.
Right.
So yes, in that sense, if there is banjir this area, dia nak letak Jabatan Banjir, they will call the minister of the relevant to that. For me, investment at that time, they want investor to come to to Selangor, MB will push. They also will say, look, bring it to Selangor. Johor has done very well, for example. MB Johor, I met the MB Johor, together dengan pemangku Sultan Johor, they always want to focus on the development of their state. This is fair. And then messages will be sent to Prime Minister to support lah. But I think what's more important is the fact that I think you're right. I'm not surprised when you said, but because in today's world, it's a lot about perception. So maybe that perception has sometimes worked for me, right? Because there are people who think, bawa dia masuk mungkin dapat support from right? Whoever lah, in this case Kuning or sometimes this group, lah. Because your perception that you're close to group A, group A, you masuk, you group A will support all of us. Right. So that has worked for me, but that also worked against me. Unfortunately, it's perception. Sometimes they say, that's why lah dia dapat. Right? Actually, they didn't even push, but but it is what it is lah in this world. But again, it's back to whether you can deliver. And to me, try to deliver as much. To say to deliver 100% susah lah.
One perception, I suppose, is the perception of your closeness to PMX, and which is perception that jadi reality. In my opinion, also lah, you've shared sometimes you've shared the same stage, just you and PMX abroad, overseas, maybe watch badminton, but in a lot of overseas stage.
Dulu lah.
But that's also because of my role,
Yeah, but what's your opinion of the man?
Well, I think he's definitely someone that, of all the bosses that I have, in terms of work ethics, I think you also know lah. I mean, you've seen, we work so hard lah.
Right.
I think that one you cannot deny.
He really.
In terms of it. But there's something else is, he somehow has that ability despite being so busy, but dia boleh charm orang around him.
He's a charmer.
So he's tired actually,
Yeah,
but then he can make everyone feel at ease. So in international meetings, you meet leaders, and they open up easier because when you know how to engage, people then are more open to engage with you. And I think this is his strength. That's why for me, I've learned a lot from the Prime Minister on how he, engages various types of stakeholders differently, but at the same time make them feel that But one thing that you cannot question is the fact that he also will make sure that, for me, he will always ask, have you done this? Have you done that? He's also very focused on making sure execution is done. I think that's something also they will follow up. Go direct. Some bosses will go through their various things.
Yeah.
So he's hands-on. What I'm trying to say he's very hands-on.
Hands-on, yeah.
He's hands-on.
Yeah.
He-
I asked you that because we had a guest recently who said that the problem with PMX is he made too many promises that he cannot fulfill. So I just wanted to get another view.
That's not true. I think promises memang lah. I mean, I as minister and even in my previous life, sometimes you make promises that you will try to deliver, but you cannot deliver for certain reasons. Which but you have to look at the one that you delivered also lah.
Tapi bab cam tu betul. We were one night, we were outside his house, the old house,
Okay.
in the dark.
In the dark.
The three of us.
Oh, malam
We
lah.
were trying- malam lah. Dia boleh cam Terence dalam gelap. So that one, dia keluar, dia kata, Terence, what you doing here? And dia orang tak boleh kata, I make up story, memang betul.
Well, we shall leave it at that, Rocky. We are running out of time. But I'm very sure, guys, that this is just the first of many conversations that we're going to be having with our guests. All the best to you in your future endeavors.
Thank you.
I'm very sure you're going to be doing so much more apart from your current role as MIDA chairman and of course BAM president. Well, all the best to you. Thank you so much for joining us on Trick Lama, and we will be talking to you again pretty soon. Something a little bird tells me. Maybe in a different
Thank you,
capacity.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zainal. Thank you,
Thanks,
Terence.
guys.
Thank you, Rocky.
Trick Lama.